Coming up on this episode, I give some advice to my younger self. I literally take a minute to sit here and think about what I'd have done differently, talking 10 years ago when I had no commitments and life was a lot simpler. Because there's bound to be people out there in that situation. But life ain't always that straightforward, and sometimes it's harder to see a problem when you're in the problem. So looking back gets interesting. So let's get into it. What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Perspective Chasing podcast, and I'm your host, John. On this episode, I want to take some time and give advice to a younger form of myself. Now, there's bound to be one out there, but it's nice to just think about if I had another playthrough, how would I have done things differently, and if I had the opportunity to have a conversation with myself, say from like 10 years ago, what would I say and how would that affect my life? Now, to start with, I guess I'd have to paint you a bit of a picture of how I was when I was younger. And more so than anything, I was probably clawing at the walls to get out. And not necessarily because I had the worst home life, but I wasn't comfortable. And my environment wasn't a reflection of myself. And I was clawing at the walls to get out. And I was doing everything I could. And the only way out for me at the time was to build myself up as much as I could. And I spent all my time focusing on that, focusing on building up my finances, building up my skills, building up to the point where I could do all of the, say, major things in life, go travel, go driving around the place, go this, that, and everything else. But I spent so much time, effort, and energy doing that. I didn't focus on anything else for a long time. So if I was to have that conversation with my younger self, that's going to be one of the biggest things that I focus on, is taking the time to enjoy the life that you're given and enjoy the moments that you have. And it's not to say that spend your life partying and not getting anywhere. But it's to say, realize that when you are young, you are young. And that in itself is a luxury, and it comes with its benefits, and it's going to come with its cons as well. But if you can focus on the benefits and you can push through and enjoy them for what they are, I don't think you'd regret it. Because now, looking back, there are times where I'm like, I wish I'd have been a bit more adventurous, a bit more outgoing, spent a bit more time going a bit haywire or whatever else. Don't get me wrong, I had my moments. But they was very few and far between, and it was more of a decompression considering I spent most of my time working and grinding towards where I wanted to be. I didn't enjoy where I was at the time. And I think there's going to be a lot of people in those situations through life that spend their time so focused on what they want to get to or where they want to be that they don't enjoy the things that they have in the moment. So when I kind of realized that over the years, that's one of the biggest keys in which made me want to not miss moments in my daughter's life and be there as much as I physically could. And that changed a massive amount of my work ethic, and it was a big old slap in the face. And it's something I've only learned looking back. So like I say, that would definitely be a heavy bit of advice that I give to my old self, is enjoy the moments you can while you have them. Like don't worry about working, like work and everything else, but don't forget to take those times, because one, if you don't take those times to decompress and celebrate yourself or celebrate how far you've come, eventually you're just going to blow your lid and you're going to pop, and it's going to get far more out of hand than it would have done if you'd have just gone like, oh yeah, quick pat on the back and then move back on, go back to work. When you're clawing at the walls, sometimes you think you have to stockpile everything and you have to work, but that's not always, that's going to progress you down one line. Whereas life doesn't move in a single track. There's multiple aspects of life moving at once. So if you're only focused on one, feel like for myself it was careers at the time, and you're putting all your time and effort and energy into that, what time is there for you to socialize, for you to travel, for you to this, for you to that? And you end up making excuses just so you can stay on that track. So I had people time and time again ask me to go on little like weekend holidays or this, that, and I'm working. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like I was working months and months in advance, like I was booked up. So there was no free time. And then I kept convincing myself that there was no time for a break, and then that contributed to me getting exhausted. So realizing when to take a break is going to be a massive part of it, and it's all going to play into that idea of appreciating where you are. Because if you don't think you've got the second to take a breath, if you think that you've always got to escape, then you're never going to take that second to catch your breath and appreciate your surroundings or just see where you are in life. The other thing would be take risks. Like, now I'm at a point in my life where I've got anchors and I need to have roots down and structure and this, that. It's not just myself. There's other variables I've got to think in life, other people in my life, other aspects of life that I've got to take into consideration beyond myself. So if I was at a point where I didn't have those kind of anchors or roots or attachments, I would probably be a bit more adventurous and travel and find more ways, because there's so much to the world. The world is a big old place, but at the same time you could live an entire life in a single city. So being able to go outside and see the world and appreciate all of the different aspects of the world, all the different ways of life, all of the different people, the growth that would bring you as a person, and just the inspiration it would give you, and the interesting people that you would meet, and the interesting things that you would see and do, the life experiences you would gain. Taking the opportunity to gain those then, before you have commitments, before you have anything tying you down in life, that I reckon would be a massive superpower, or a massive just thing to have in your arsenal, to be well traveled at a young age, or not even necessarily at a young age, but be well traveled before you settle down in life, or before you need to settle down in life. Because once you've got those anchors, once you've got solid commitments and everything else, it becomes a lot harder to be adventurous or spontaneous or go to these places. Like there's some places in the world that I would want to see that other people wouldn't, or I'd only want to experience alone. But that's all variables that change when life gets more complicated, which always tends to happen later in life. Like, the more life goes on, the more opportunities there are for things to get complicated in many ways. So taking the opportunity while they're present, while they're possible, to enjoy life, that's always going to be a win in my book. And it would be something that I would probably change going back. I would make sure that I traveled more. I got out and see more of the world, because it is a big place. But it's so easy to forget that unless you're constantly reminded of how big the world is and how many variations of life there is, and not just in human life, but in the animal kingdom, in different species and this, that, and everything. Like, there is so much to life. So taking the time to explore that while you can, I don't see any losses in that, other than the cost of it, which is going to be a massive barrier for a lot of people. But you can start small and you can find a way. Like, it's not to say that you have to start with an extravagant round the world trip in 80 days. But you could start going to a little holiday once or twice a year, and just make sure that it's something that you take time for. Not just a holiday to take a break, but a holiday to broaden your horizons or experience something new. Like, take those times to expand who you are. Because there's a lot of people that go through life and they never take that opportunity. And to me, it doesn't create an ideal person. it tends to create a lot of resentment and a lot of hatred and a lot of negativity being projected out into the world because they've missed the opportunity or they feel they can't ever have that opportunity. So don't let yourself become that person. Take action and make sure that you're setting yourself up to be the person that you want to be. Like I said, my younger self wasn't a fan of their environment because it wasn't a reflection of themselves. So they spent a lot of time pushing to get out of it. And I'm grateful to that person because it made me who I am. But that's not to say there's not things that I wouldn't tweak and change if I went back. Nobody's perfect. I'm still not perfect. I never will be. But I will always try to be better. And in that pursuit, I will grow and I will change and I will develop. And in time, I won't be able to relate to this person. I'll be looking back and saying this person that's talking to you now should have done things differently or this or whatever else. Hindsight is you know what they say. But yeah, so take the time to explore the world, take risks, and obviously make sure that you can stick around and control the risks as much as you can and don't put yourself in any unnecessary danger. But go out and explore the world. Be adventurous. Be outgoing. Like, it's only gonna add to who you are. All of those experiences and everything else, once it comes to your last breath, I don't think you would ever wish to experience less of life. So get out there and experience it. It's there to be experienced. And what else would I say to my younger self? Appreciate who's in your life while they're in your life, and take the opportunity to tell them what they mean to you, because they may not always be there, and you never know how quickly they can go. So make sure they know what they mean to you. Don't be afraid to say it, because one day you may not have the chance. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Like, when it comes to people you care about, there should be no reason in holding back your true feelings or what they truly mean to you. And I know it can be difficult to say how you truly feel or what somebody truly means to you. But once you go through that difficulty and you overcome that hurdle and you break down the barrier and you're able to talk to that person about those things, it opens a whole new avenue of life. Not only do they understand you better, you understand them better, you can appreciate each other better, but you understand each other's value to one another a little bit more. And like, there's conversations that I could go back, and if I had the chance, I wouldn't skate over them so much. I would take the time to actually appreciate them for what they are. So even when I say that, there's a specific time that comes to mind when I was walking upstairs with my daughter when she was just a baby. And my mum basically was sitting there and she said, "Oh, I'm proud of you." And I skirted it off and I was just like, "Well, what are you proud of me? I'm just doing what I'm doing. Like, I'm taking care of my daughter. Like, basically, I'm busy. Like, why are you talking nonsense?" But that's for a couple of reasons. One, I struggled to accept that compliment because in life I feel that there's a lot more that I need to do. So for you to be proud of me, to me, felt like, oh, it's almost settling. Like, I've not done it next to anything that I want to do or I'm set out to do in this life. But yet you're already proud of me. Like, but yet it's not a case of like, I'm proud of you and that's the be all and end all, which is how the me at the time took it. It's more of, I'm proud of who you are and who you're becoming and the path that you're on. At least that's how I feel looking back. Like, if I'd have taken the time to actually sit with that, and again, there was other things with it. I think I was going upstairs to change my daughter. So it wasn't a straightforward situation. Like, I didn't necessarily have the time to have a full-blown conversation, but I could have still gone back to that and revisited that conversation, took more time there and said, like, Mum, like, I appreciate you saying that you're proud of me, but and explained everything there, because that would have been an in-depth conversation, and I would have learned a lot, and mine and my mum's relationship would have grown even more, and it would have just helped that understanding. And felt bad about being so dismissive of it, because that was probably one of the more significant things that my mum said to me that stuck with me looking back. And I never took the time to really have that conversation of why did you say that in that moment, or like how it feels for somebody to say that when you feel like your work isn't done and you're still on the road to accomplishing something. So there's so many things where it's just like, if you could actually take the time to sit in the conversation and listen to what somebody says and why they're saying it, and not just take it for how it initially makes you feel, but think about why they're saying it, and even ask them why they're saying it. Like, again, it might not be an easy conversation to have, but they're the most meaningful conversations. Like, don't not have those conversations because they're difficult. Have those conversations because they're difficult. They're only ever going to make things better for you. And in the immediate, it might be uncomfortable, but in the long term, regardless of the outcome, good or bad, it'll be better for you, because if it's a good situation, then it's going to flourish. If it's a bad situation, then you're going to be able to get out of it, and it's going to be a big red flag for you to say, exit now. But it is difficult, but it's worth pushing through. So have those conversations. And yeah. Is there anything else I would say to my younger self? So, what is it? Be adventurous and outgoing. Take the time to relax and appreciate the youth while you have it, and the freedoms while you have it. Appreciate the people that you have in your life and actually tell them. Don't keep it to yourself. Like, remember that our feelings are within us, and the only way that anybody's ever going to understand them is if we communicate them. And some of us are poor at communicating, so it takes longer for us to communicate them or for somebody else to understand. But don't be afraid to take that time and put in the effort and energy to get your point across and get somebody to understand how you feel about them and what they mean to you. Because once they understand that, the value of that relationship is only going to flourish. And is there anything else to my younger self? Take care of your body. That's going to be the last thing. Like, genuinely take the time to put in the work in your body and take care of it, because that is the vessel that's carrying you around. That is the vehicle for you to move around this earth. So if it breaks down, that makes your day-to-day life a lot harder. So putting in the effort and energy to take care of yourself is always going to be another win. And it's going to pay off down the line. Take the time to eat decent food, to move around, get outside, breathe good air, eat good food, be with good people, have physical contact with people, touch people, hug people. Like, be that healthy soul in the world. Because, again, when life is all said and done, I don't think it's something that you'd begrudge putting your efforts into. Be somebody that tells you that it's good to see them and that they've brightened your day, or whatever it is. Like, put the positivity out in the world and make the world a better place. Because it's the world that you're living in, it's the world that you're going to live in, and it's the world that the people that you love and the people that you meet and interact with live in. So make the effort to make it a better place. I think that's going to be it. That's all the advice I've got for you now. But that was an interesting one, and I'm definitely going to watch this one back for myself to see how coherent it is. Because again, none of this is scripted. It's all just off the dome, what I would genuinely say to myself looking back. But yeah, I'll wrap it up there before I start rambling on too much. The seed for this episode is going to be sit there and think about a conversation that you'd have with your old self. Think of the advice that you'd give your old self and why. And think about how you'd pay that forward. What advice would you want to give yourself if you was 10 years older looking back to now? How would that impact your life? Take that time and don't forget to appreciate yourself. Appreciate the person that you are and the efforts that you put in the world. Because it all starts with you. You are the universe experience in itself. And from your perspective, you are everything. Now, that's not everybody's perspective, and that's not everybody's experience, but it is yours. So view the world from that and understand that life is yours to experience. As long as you don't harm others and you're out trying to make the world a better place, go out and be happy. Enjoy life and make the world a better place. All the best, and I'll catch you on the next one.